Hi, how's everybody doing? I thought I'd try something a bit different, and I'm going to be launching my book, I think, this month. So I thought maybe I'd read you the first chapter, because I think it'll do a much better job of explaining like what inspired me to make this book and write this record. So I'm going to try my first ever reading. It's going to be a little bit, because I haven't got a paper copy. I'm waiting for the proof. It should be here soon, fingers crossed, and it looks okay. And I've proofread it properly. So I got it, it's like slightly off to the left, so if I look like my eyes keep bogging over there, then that's the reason. But let me give it a go, and I'll try and speak up as well. I've never really read a book on video before, so this will be interesting. Okay. Chapter 1, Introduction. I have been circling this introduction like a bird lost in the sky. Do birds ever get lost? Perhaps only when the world around them gets disrupted, but that's a question or a song for another day. The beginning. It's the part of this book that I've rewritten the most and felt the most awkward about. I've never written a book before, so maybe it's beginner's nerves, but I suspect the problem comes from me being a musician, and a musician who believes deeply that a song needs no introduction and should speak for itself, because that's the power of the language that I've chosen, the notes, the rhythm, and the spaces in between. Music carries meaning in a way words sometimes cannot. It prods at places in your heart and memory that aren't easily explained. And yet here I am writing an introduction. This may be a book and not a song, but I want it to feel less like an explanation and more like a gesture, like opening a door or a gate, an invite really to the background of this record and these pages. We have lots of kissing gates near my home, curvy metal frames that swing open just wide enough for one person to step through at a time while stopping the sheep from escaping. I always pause there in that little space to kiss my dogs on the head, a simple ritual to say hello. And so this isn't so much an explanation as it is a pause like that, a place to meet on the trailhead so we can begin to walk together. No head smoochies, I promise, unless you really want one. I'll tell you a little bit about me so you're not walking this path with a complete stranger. I'm from North Wales in the UK, and for the past decade I've split my time between the misty Clwydian Hills and the hot Vermilion Cliffs of southern Utah, that with a good chunk of touring in between. I've been the front person of the Joy Formidable for nearly 15 years, and what a beautiful time it's been, a heady mix of great stories and the weirdest of days. On one of those days, someone coined the phrase Santa's soup. I suspect it was for purposes other than the metaphor that I'm about to attempt, but being in the music industry is kind of like floating in a bowl of Santa's soup. The soup, the industry, is in the hands of a mythical figure, half celebrated, half doubted, the Oz behind the music industry curtains, ghosts who run the show. And there we are, the musicians, floating on the croutons of our art with the crunchy bits, the good part of the soup that can be savoured, soaked through, or carelessly crushed under the weight of Santa's spoon. Okay, so it's not a perfect metaphor, I'll admit, but neither is the industry it describes. I've always held Christmas in a delicate balance of love and disillusionment, exactly how I feel about the game of music, though not the music itself. So now you know me a little better, I like strange metaphors, bats, and I often dream of Quagga Canyon. Here in these pages and songs, there are two forms of expression living side by side, an album and a book. The music came first, but the words soon followed. And now they're woven together so naturally that I've been toying with the idea of coining a new format, the book bum. It has a cheeky ring to it, don't you think? So I guess I need to rewind a little to the very beginning, well before this bookbum was even an ember, back to 2020, when the world was being chucked around by a global pandemic. I'm grateful I didn't lose anybody during that time. My family and I were separated for many months, but we found our way back to one another eventually. Like so many artists and bands, we were really disrupted. Musicians are pretty resourceful beings, used to uncertainty, to carving out unusual paths, but the pandemic ushered in a whole new level of instability. So many things shifted at once, and with such speed, the kind of accelerated change that makes finding a steady footing a challenge even now. The Joy Formidable took solace in our music club and the sweet community we had built online. It became a lifeline, something solid when everything else felt up in the air, and it still is to this day. In the middle of all this change, I found myself reflecting more than I had in years, and quickly wondering what might come next. I'd once said in a passing interview that I might like to make a solo record someday, but at that juncture it felt less true. Instead, I found myself wanting a quiet chapter, a fallow time, like the earth resting between harvests. I hoped that a break from recording and touring would nourish my creative soil, and that eventually something would grow again. I bought a dumpling domain and started imagining a future crafting little food bundles for a living. I got 3 rabies shots and researched how to become a bat rehabilitator. Reading this back feels like I was having an eccentric midlife crisis, but really I think it was my way of responding to uncertainty, a kind of reaching out in many directions. Between kneading dough and rolling up my sleeves for injections, I was making my way through an amazing book. And it is an amazing book. Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Kimmerer. Somewhere in those beautiful pages, a section rang out like a clear, resonant chord. Imagine a great chord like C major 7 G, one of my favourites. Let me try to do justice to the passage that stayed with me. There's a moment where she describes how knowledge of the natural world has passed from generation to generation. Today we have scientific papers that are detailed and meticulous, and online resources that are constantly being updated with new information and discoveries. And yet, she asks, do these forms stir the collective imagination in the same way as a song, a story, or a piece of art? She goes on to say that in indigenous traditions, knowledge is woven into culture through storytelling, poetry, and ceremony, evocative mediums that don't just inform but connect and inspire. They invite you to feel something. Even as technology helps us unlock more of the planet's secrets, I can't help sense that we as a species are drifting further away from that deep intuitive bond that we once had with nature. There was a study shared in the Times that painted a somewhat sad picture of how young people in the UK are relating to the natural world. Of the children surveyed, aged 5 to 16, 83% couldn't identify a bumblebee. I mean, that's buzzed up. And a quarter expressed little or no interest in the natural world at all. Results like those, are sobering reminders of what we're slowly growing apart from, and a reason, I think, to guide children back outside, with kindness and curiosity leading the way. Thankfully, there are so many wonderful publications and blogs and voices out there trying to rekindle our connection to the natural world. I follow some of them, and after reading Robin Kimmerer, I started to wonder, could I contribute too? So I got excited and I set to work on this solo record, finally knowing what I wanted it to be. I was going to take a bunch of nature-based science papers and try to translate their essence into something musical, something you might also feel, even if it's just a low buzzing in your ears. These past 8 months have been a wonderful gift. I've learned so much, not only from the science and stories that I've come across, but also about myself as a lyricist. My past songs have often been autobiographical. There's always a mix, dreams, observations and fragments of the world as I've lived it, but I'm often there, loosely stitched somewhere between the lines. I admit that the same is true of this album. It's full of personal threads, but I've come to see it as something deeper, a reminder of the connectivity that binds us. Grief, awe, love, wonder, they echo across species and are part of a shared journey that is universal and unifying. The first song, I Can't Always Find the Right Words, is a perfect example of the personal meeting something larger. In many ways, it's me wrapped up in a single line. Depending on the type of day I'm having, words either come quick and sharp, watch out hecklers, or my brain is mashed potato. But this song goes beyond my own struggles with articulation. It reaches to something bigger, a shared human struggle to communicate with and to relate to the natural world. We have language, yes, but so does the water, the trees, and the wind. This song is a kind of plea for us to stay open, to listen, learn from the living world around us, including one another. Listening is a practice, and it's not always an easy one. It asks us to let go of human exceptionalism, the belief that we are somehow separate from or above the rest of life. If we could lean into that awareness, into humility, maybe we could be exceptional, not in our superiority, but because we are capable of amazing compassion, patience, and care. So that's it, chapter 1. I hope that made sense. I've basically taken a bunch of science papers about the natural world and I've tried to turn them into songs. So I'm excited to share it. Thank you for listening to me read my first chapter and for being here on Substack and the Music Club.